What's good, Redskin fans? Back again for another episode of Redskins Film Review. And this week, of course, we're going to take a look at the Dallas Cowboys loss. And I'm going to tell you, I was deflated after this game. So much so that I couldn't even bring myself to make a post-game video for a lot of different reasons. I figured I would just keep the thoughts that were inside of my brain and come out here and do this this film breakdown when I got my hands on the coach's film. And I can tell you, through 2 weeks of football, the Redskins have given up 63 points for 911 yards. Now, after I've upset your stomach a little bit, let me go on to tell you that this past week they gave up 14 plays of 10 yards or more. Never in a million years if you would have told me that Washington would be this bad on defense through 2 weeks. Well, I have believed you. I would have never have thought that you would have been telling me the correct amount of truth. I would have screamed fake news even, which I don't even like that terminology. But here we are. And the truth is, whether it be coaching or scheming or the players actually producing or injuries, whatever it be, a combination of all of it maybe, the Redskins are not trending in the right direction. What this kind of play has done, essentially, it has made the haters right through 2 weeks. Now, I will also say that most of us, even the not so level-headed folks, were looking at the last 2 weeks and thinking that we were, facing an uphill battle. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and take a look at the film. And I'm going to start out with the defensive film this week. Okay, so this is the first play I wanted to take a look at. More so for how Montez Sweat reacts to this play. Of course, you got Jason Witten coming off the end over there as a tight end, who is a savvy veteran, even though he spent a year out of football. And he's basically going to, hit Montez Sweat, kind of hit him with a kind of a chip block, more than anything, just to make him kind of make him go to Montez's left and get him to kind of give inward a little bit and give Dak a little bit of time just to get around that edge and pull Sweat out of the play and leave Witten open in the flat. Now, I'll leave this call to you guys if you tell me what you think that he should have done here. But Sweat's kind of left in no man's land. He kind of is left to decide whether or not he should go after Witten or he should go after the ball carrier. And in my opinion, I probably would have assumed he should go after the ball carrier. All right, now see, if you watch the play here, and you see over here, Sweat's right here, and you'll see that Witten, who's right here, basically is just trying to grab him by the arm and kind of, keep him there for a second and then kind of give him a slight shove to his right. And in the process, he kind of takes Sweat out of the play of really being able to do anything. And Sweat has to make a clear decision whether or not to, go after the quarterback or to pursue Witten. And he makes a decision to go after the quarterback, which is what I would think most players would do. And if you also look, here's Montae Nicholson, and he's looking, kind of over the play itself too. All right, so if you stop the play right here, you'll see immediately that while Sweat has committed to going after the quarterback, that so has Montae Nicholson. He's also watching the quarterback as well. Now, to me, this is a communication error. Nicholson should have been watching Witten. Montae should have been free to go after the quarterback. And Dak's doing what Dak does right now. So, as the play progresses, you'll see Montae turn and start going towards Witten. Late now, mind you. Now, Dak immediately notices the open play, which is Witten open in the flat, and ignores that he's got this man right here open coming across as well. This would have been the better play if you ask my opinion, even though it is guarded closely by Landon Collins. In my opinion, that would have been the better play to make. Now, if as he's rolling out with his body turned that direction, maybe to Witten the better play. But in this play, in my opinion, if anybody's to blame for this gain, it's not that big of a gain. But if anybody's to blame for this gain, it's Nicholson and not Sweat, who, in my opinion, he did his job here. And he got chip blocked a little by Witten. And Montae Nicholson should have picked up on this, or at least played a better situation, unless his job is to rush the passer. And if his job is to rush the passer, then he should have been rushing the passer, before that, before that point in the play, at least. So let's go ahead and back that up and watch it one last time. So you can see Sweat coming off the block. Nicholson reacted late. There's a little 3-yard gain that I think Montez Sweat gets the tackle coming off the end over there to the right side of the play. Witten couldn't hold him all day. That big beast wanted to come through. This right here is a great example of Dallas gashing the Redskins front. There's nothing really special about this play, but watch the opening of the hole here. The one that Ezekiel Elliott gets to go through. Watch. Look at this opening right here. Look at this area right here for him to run through. Now, granted, he's got to beat Kerrigan through that hole, but this is Ezekiel Elliott we're talking about here. He's got a blocker on the edge and no man for, I don't know what, 10 yards, 15 yards. So here, when the play comes down, Kerrigan is literally the last man to beat. So they let loose the ball. And it's basically an option play. So when he lets loose of the ball, Kerrigan is already behind the play, and he breaks loose of that and is gone. I mean, just look at that. I mean, that's just gashing them. Ain't much you can do with that. I had somebody last week over on Facebook actually message one of the pages that I run over there and ask why we didn't show more positive defensive plays. Now, I just wanted to address that real quick. It's not that we're withholding the good stuff. It really isn't. Because if the good stuff was, there to be had and there was a lot of it, I'd want to show all the good stuff and then none of the bad. But truth as it is, I kind of like to pinpoint what the bad is and see what we need to do to fix it. And at the same time, I also like to take a look at what did work. And the next play was one of those tip pass drill plays, if anybody's ever, played any football out there. And it's just one of those plays where, you're glad that you did that drill and you got good at it. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. I'm not really going to break it down a lot. I just wanted to, take a glance at the play itself and show both angles on it so everybody can get a look at it, And if you wanted to take 1,000 looks at it yourself, you can. So here's the interception by Montae Nicholson. It looked like to me like the defense got some decent pressure on Dak and made Dak step up and throw the ball, and then the ball ricocheted off of somebody's hands or a pad maybe. And so as you can see right there, Daron Payne is already in there and putting his hand on Dak right now. And Dak basically breaks free, and when he does, he throws the ball to this man right here, coming across the side right here. Yeah, ball just bounces off one man's hands. I believe that's Randall Cobb, who was supposed to have caught the ball 18. Backing up one last time. I want to take a look at Payne again. I want to freeze it. And as you see, he's already made his move and he's already beat his man. Payne slimmed down a lot this offseason, and I was actually expecting really big things. Now, the way this play is schemed up, two of these Dallas linemen were looking at Ioannidis. So it takes this whole section out of the play. So this man here is one-on-one with Payne. Everybody knows that's probably his worst nightmare. Now, my guess is that the offensive line coach thought he could handle him. I guess my guess now is that probably he learned he couldn't, even though we didn't get a lot of sacks. But this play right here, Payne had him beat, and Dak made a good play to be able to get rid of the ball, and then the ball bounced off of Randall Cobb's hands, and Montae Nicholson intercepted it. Payne eventually is going to learn how to close that up. He almost got him. He put his arm on him, and Dak just fought through it. Cobb should have had that, honestly. Montae's got good reaction time. Montae's actually a pretty much of a beast when it comes to physical, athlete. I've seen some plays the last couple weeks where it appears like he has made bad plays in terms of coming up or moving back in the coverage or not staying with a player as he ran further into a route. Looked like he kind of left Josh Norman high and dry a little this week, but we'll take a look at that in a little bit. I wanted to make sure I showed this play early on, just so everybody could see that I'm not picking on Josh Norman, because this was a play where he defensed the best, what I would call the best Cowboy receiver on the field, pretty well actually. Which in a situation like this is where you want a Josh Norman, and this is how you coach a Josh Norman, and this is how you put Josh Norman into a scheme. Like you don't do it like you did last week where you put him, over the top guarding a Deshaun Jackson, or if you're a coach, you don't put a scheme out there that a safety needs to think whether or not he should switch up and let Josh Norman take Deshaun Jackson over the top. That should never be a thought. So anyway, let's go ahead and watch the play. Did you see Josh got his hand in there? Looked like they were playing cover one there. Correct me if I'm wrong out there, defensive gurus. Let me stop it right there. One thing I don't like is Josh coming back strutting either. But I told everybody before the play, I don't want to, make anybody think that I'm trying to pick on Josh. My points are always looking at what we could do to try to make things better with the team. This guy makes a lot of money. We already know he's not one of the faster corners in the league, but we figure he's a good cover corner. And this is what we really want him doing in a game is, going up against their receivers and making them have to work for first downs. We don't necessarily want him taking the fastest guy and going one-on-one, though. Let him cover a certain area of the field. Maybe he has to go one-on-one once he's in that area, whatever the case may be. But in my opinion, he should be covering some ground and playing zone. I've said from day one that I thought this guy was a better free safety. Nobody in the Washington coaching staff or setup seems to think that would work. So it's whatever. Honestly speaking, I think we may be looking at the last few games of Josh Norman's career in D.C., and I think he'll probably be happier, and I think that money that we spend on him might be spent better, in the future. One of the common themes this week is third downs. Redskin third downs. I'll call it nightmare by third down. We'll see how each third down progressed and how each third down looked as the film goes forward. Now, the first couple of drives, they were 3 and outs, so I just left those out. So, mind you, the third downs were successful. This down right here is a play that I wanted to kind of put out there so everybody gets a chance to see the film on this one. It's not really a whole lot to break down, so I'll just go ahead and let y'all take a look at it. Now, who doesn't like to see Ryan Kerrigan get a sack on Sunday? Another one closer to Dexter's all-time record for the Redskins, which Dexter had 91, I believe was the number, and Ryan now has 85.5. So he'll meet that number this year, I would think. He's off to a slow start. You know, I've seen some holding penalties in these games that, you know, the film is there for the league to see. I wonder what they do each week. Do they actually review any of this film, or is this something that, you know, just the people that want to take a look at this, all 22, get to look at it, or what happens here? Because Kerrigan clearly gets held, I'd say 90 to 95% of all plays during the game. Now, I could be wrong. It could be more like 85%. You know, correct me if I'm wrong. You know, one of the big knocks on Dak Prescott's game from detractors over the last few years has been that he's too basic. To dink and dak, so to speak. You know, most people call it dink and dunk, kind of like what they did with Alex Smith, saying Alex Smith wasn't a good quarterback or dynamic quarterback because all he did was dink and dunk. And, you know, they started calling it dink and dak. Now, what I've noticed, and this is actually coming from an opposing fan's point of view who does not like the Dallas Cowboys, but what I've noticed is that Dak and Zeke have actually, you know, kind of combined to form a pretty good play-action combo. Now, if you watch this play right here and then watch the play it leads into right after it, you'll kind of get an idea of what I'm really talking about, coming from, you know, that deep next to the end zone, mind you. I really thought we were going to be able to do something with them that deep in the end zone, and then, you know, this. So that really just gave them, honestly, it really just worked on giving them more space to make the next play, which really made me gasp. It was like, really? Now, if you look at this play right here, and you see, you know, Dak's right here. Now, he's really got no open guys, although I don't think he really sees that he's got somebody right here. He could have thrown back near the sideline over here, but then, you know, his guy really can't do anything on that side of the field, and he takes a chance of the ball getting picked off. There's a man bleeding over. He's got nothing over here. So he makes a really good decision by stepping up and slipping through. Now, what gets me is how many yards he was able to get out of this play. So here he is. He's standing on, we'll be nice and say he's standing on the 5-yard line. So basically he slips through and is able to just kind of go right through here. And we'll call that, what, 15 yards? Somewhere in the ballpark? Mind you, he's still got a pretty decent pocket there. He dips out of it the moment he feels the heat from Initis. You know, in the past, I've pointed out a few times that I'm no defensive genius or mastermind. If I was, quite frankly, I probably would have found a way to break into the NFL by now. But when I look at packages like this, I think to myself, why are they giving so much space to the wide receivers? And, you know, I've seen it with these defenses for so long now that it's almost become a mainstay with us, and it's almost become the norm. I watch other teams, and they don't give, you know, these pockets of areas to opposing wide receivers for, you know, to be able to go 7 yards and then, you know, turn and make a catch. Seems like that's life against us. And a team like Dallas, who just had a ton of these, you know, 9 to 14-yard passes where they just eat, you know, yardage up on these type of plays where we give so much of an area of space. And I, for the life of me, can't figure out why this defense continues to give up this kind of yardage. I would have never have thought they would have given up 911 yards in 2 weeks. How does that happen? You know, when coming into this year, pretty much everybody figured that defensive side of the ball would be the mainstay. And it keeps going back to the leadership at the top. And, how does Minuski still have a job anyway? This guy should have been fired in the offseason. We didn't do very good last year, even with if you take into account all the injuries, we still didn't do good. And then, he had all the stories in the offseason about how they brought in all these defensive coaches with Minuski in the room with them. And, what were they bringing those guys in for? Trying to be defensive assistants? What was going on there? It's just more question marks and more question marks. Did they actually interview these guys with the old coach in the room? It makes you just question what's going on here. And the confidence level has got to be low in that room as far as the coaches are concerned. And now I'm thinking about it from the player's point of view, and I just can't seem to put everything together and figure out why this team can't get better other than the coaching is poor. It's poor. And I don't know why we're now being loyal to this coaching staff after years and years and years of dumping coaches after just 2 years or 3 years or whatever the case may be. Now Snyder has stuck with this regime. And then, I guess this is the third set of defensive coordinator and staff that we've had now. I'm all for keeping Jim Tomsula, and I think he's happy keeping his role as the defensive line coach. And I think the Ryan brother is happy keeping his job as the inside linebacker coach. But there's some, restructuring that needs to be done really bad. I'm not happy with what I've seen at all through the very first 2 games. And for the detractors that say you can't fire a coordinator in season, yes, you can. Now, in my opinion, it's not very smart to fire a head coach, but you can fire a coordinator and promote somebody within, or bring an outside person in to kind of help as you promote somebody within to take the formal role. You can do several different things, but I'm going to tell you, if I'm the Redskins front office, I'm looking at this next game against the Bears and thinking to myself, if they can't get it right in this game, how many games are we going to lose? Because defense has to hold a team up that has a sagging offense, which is what we have at this point. Our offense has not found their feet yet, and I'm not certain if they will. I'm not so certain it's Case Keenum's fault either, because Case Keenum has actually put together some, 2 decent games. He hasn't made any picks. He's only been sacked once in each game. I can't complain about the line too much, except for the fact that all they do, it seems like, is get another penalty every 3rd or 4th play, especially on plays where we get more than 4 or 5 yards. That's my major knock on this team right now, is those stupid penalties. But as we're looking at defense, I honestly have no clue what needs to change, but it's pretty obvious that something does, because if teams are able to carve us up like Dallas did, then we're in trouble. Now, I will also say, and it pains me to have to say this, guys, but Dallas is one of the better teams in the league. And Josh Norman made a good play on this play, except for the fact that, he was already too deep. The irony of the next play is that this is actually the play that Washington has been doing so well with Terry McLaurin the last couple of weeks. And, Dallas used it to basically do what they wanted to with Josh Norman, caught him with his pants down, whatever you want to say. I know Twitter was full of all kinds of things to say about this man the other day. But nevertheless, here's the play. And I can tell you that this is one of those situations where Josh just gets matched up again with somebody who has too much speed that he can't cover. And this is week number 2 where he's basically been shown his weakness again. And I have to ask everybody, is this Josh's fault when the coaching staff knows this is one of his weaknesses and they continue to put him in a situation where this continues to happen, even if it's a communication issue? You can't tell me that the coaching staff does not know that this is going down. Now look at the play. All right, so let me back it up a little bit there. Now, when you get to this point in the play right here, I'll be honest with you and tell you that it looks like the safety has already messed this play up, because Nicholson, for some reason, is looking at Randall Cobb right here, even though he's 10 yards back. In my opinion, he should have been looking to help Norman with his man right here. If Nicholson rolls over and helps Norman and rolls deep with him, then this may be a long pickup, but Nicholson actually could make a good play on the ball here. and the play really doesn't turn into much, or maybe even Dak doesn't even throw it here. But the point is that Nicholson makes the wrong read here. And in this process, it ends up making Josh look bad. And you have to ask yourself, is this what they're being asked to do? Is this a breakdown in scheme on the player's fault or the coaching's fault? Now, I'll leave that up to you guys to discuss or to tell me what your opinion is on that. In my opinion, it's a breakdown on Montae's behalf and the coaching scheme's behalf, because they should not have this, going on with Josh Norman 2 weeks in a row being caught out here like this, and Nicholson just letting it happen. And I seem to remember this happening last year, guys. Maybe it was DJ Swearinger that was complaining about this very thing happening on the field last year, and that the coaches were not scheming the right way or whatever the case may be. So if Nicholson is being asked to cover Randall Cobb, then, why is he not asked to cover across the top here too? Because, that's just the way it is. I guess Nicholson in his mind is thinking if he doesn't cover Randall Cobb, that Prescott will just tear him up there, and then the rest of the field is open for Cobb to do whatever he wants to that direction. So you guys let me know what you think. And I'll state it one more time. I honestly believe that might have been Nicholson's fault there. I don't know if Josh thought that Nicholson was going to help deep or what was going to happen there. One last look above up here, and it really does look like this play would have been covered underneath the route that Nicholson chose to dive for, which Nicholson's right here. You see him with the yellow. But Nicholson chose to dive in for this route right here. This man right here. He was already covered in by the linebacker right here. And then you already had another Redskin on the middle of the field right here. So, it looks like Nicholson made the wrong read, in my opinion. And in the process, Josh gets made to look like a fool again. And, of course, it leads to all the people that, are not going to look at this kind of film, that are going to come out and say, oh, Norman got beat, he's a bum. But in all actuality, this play right here was not Josh's fault. I think our guys are probably pretty happy that this play didn't, get completed, because this would have made Josh Norman look that much worse. Now, I'm not certain if the reason why that looked so bad was because of the direction that Norman, went when the play started out. It almost looked like he thought the play was going to go a little bit further inside, but at the same time, he figured he would cut, down a little to be able to trap the play to the sideline, I guess. But if you can see, here's Norman right here, and I believe it's Gallup is the player who the ball's thrown to. It's heading this direction right here. Now, Norman first kind of comes down. He started out up in this area right here and ended up, just kind of swinging down this direction and then kind of kicking back inward. I know that's a silly looking line right there. I apologize for the crudity of some of the tools on here, but it is, what it is until maybe this channel starts making some revenue. I'm left with these tools right here, and they're kind of like, Microsoft Paint kind of tools, you know what I mean? But anyway, I'm not here to complain. I'm just here to show you guys what's going on. Now, once I back this play up, you'll see what I'm talking about. You can already see Josh backpedaling. But then he comes inward and then swoops back out. It's like he takes a bad angle. I don't know, but if that ball would have been thrown better, Gallup would have probably had a touchdown there. Better look at that. Better throw there, and that's a touchdown. And Josh is looking, mighty dumb there if the play is thrown the way it should be. And, I know he made some rather dumb comments during the week about Dak Prescott, and he's kind of backpedaled on those now. Honestly, as a Redskin fan, please just stop talking and then, get his play somewhere, to the point of where he's worth something out there on the field that's close to what we're paying him. Now, I knew when he signed that big deal that he would never be able to live up to being a number one corner in the league kind of thing, kind of mentality. I knew that would never happen, but I hoped that this would turn into something better. Now, in my opinion, him going one-on-one down the sideline with receivers that are clearly faster than him, especially like Michael Gallup here, is not something that should be happening. I'll ask everybody again, is this a scheme issue or is this a coaching issue where you allow your scheme to end up with Josh Norman covering one of the faster players on the team the second week in a row? Mind you, this is after he's already given up a big play down the field to a guy that was on the practice squad just a week ago. So, there's that. And third downs have become our hell on earth. And here's another one. But it's these third downs. We can't get our team off of the field. It's something that continuously happens. That play wasn't a bad play. Again, third downs. Just brutal. Look at that. Brutal. Now, I know everybody saw it, and I saw it, and I want to back it up and show it on here again. We're going to go in slow-mo off of that corner. But this right here turns into a hold. Now here you have Dak right here coming out of the pocket, and he's got a clean pocket with Josh Norman being the closest defender all the way up here. And the Dallas defender grabs his man, which is Jimmy Moreland, and, it's off to the races. It should also be pointed out that if Dak is a touch faster, this is a touchdown. I know that there's a picture floating around of Dak giving a stiff arm to Josh Norman in this play, but that's really not what happened. What happened was Norman kind of stretched out trying to smack the ball. Ended up, grabbing Dak by the jersey and bringing him down. But the whole point of me pointing this out is you could see that Moreland is held on this play. Just watch it again. Again, here's the guy I'm talking about right here. Jimmy Moreland. I know my crudity of my arrows there. In my opinion, this is a ticky-tacky penalty that gets called on this play that kind of helps Dallas out here. But it was already 1st and 10 anyway on the 11. And Washington was already looking like they were getting ready to get scored on again. But we'll go ahead and watch this play, and you'll see that the Montez sweat kind of gets caught up in something. But here you go. For all intended purposes, I think everybody knows Sweat was not trying to hurt Dak Prescott, but the way the league rules work, it's a penalty. If it happened to us, we would be, kind of mad because they didn't call it if they didn't. So it's a 15-yard penalty. At this point, everybody knows that when the ball's out of the quarterback's hands, you can't hit the quarterback, you can't touch the quarterback, you can't do anything to the quarterback. I put a lot of emphasis on third down in this video, and here we are again on third down, and, you hate when your team does something right and then shoots himself in the foot. That being said, let's watch this play. No, it wasn't. You know why it wasn't? Well, they called defensive holding and gave Dallas a first down. And that pretty much gave Dallas points right there. You know, we already knew they were going to get 3 out of this because they were so close, but that pretty much gave them the 7 because it put them on the 1, I guess. It was actually the 2, but as I said, you know, ain't much we could do here. Dallas runs a little inadvertent X there, 2-man crossing pattern ordeal. Washington defense buys right into it, makes the mistake, leaves Witten wide open to the corner. Here, not having a good play at all, trying to jump the route, and Randall Cobb was able to get the touchdown and walk it right in. You know, this is not acceptable. I realize that Everett is not your normal everyday starter, but he's got to do better than that. That was just ridiculous. You know, some plays you look at and you wonder to yourself, how did they do that? Like, how did they get there? Like, you know, what's the deal here? We put out on good defense and they still got into it. Well, the deal is that, you know, these guys are professional athletes. Sometimes they actually do make good plays. So even the best defense is not going to stop all offense, especially with all these penalties that they have nowadays. And if you've ever watched a Redskin game, you see that the Redskins get penalized. I'm not going to stand here and say more than others all the time, but they get penalized aggressively. Let's put it that way. And in situations when they get penalized aggressively, it makes them change how they defend some situations. So it leads to the soft defenses that we see. Now, obviously, other teams in the NFL have to deal with this too and play better. So there's that. I hate to say the words the Redskins had given up at that point, because it doesn't look like they completely given up. Just, at that point, poor play had led to them being on their heels. And that's going to be all this week for the defense, but I want to stop for a second and say that even though I was highly, and I mean highly, disappointed in the way that this team played against Dallas, because I don't ever like to see my team play that way against the Dallas Cowboys. But looking at this from a different perspective, from a perspective of looking at the film, what this looks like is, the Cowboys are a big spread offense. They like to get the ball to a lot of different targets. They got Kellen Moore mixing it up back there now, which is a lot better for them than a Jason Garrett, flavored offense, which it's the same offense, but it's directed differently, and it's definitely more down the line. And the Cowboys are definitely dangerous with a play-action game, and a quarterback that knows how to determine what to do, and a lot of RPOs involved. And I'm not getting ahead of myself saying that Dak Prescott is a top 5 quarterback in the league, because he's not. But what he is good at doing their offense, okay, which is actually kind of a simplified offense, and he doesn't make the type of throws that like Tony Romo made in it. But what he does is he takes what the defenses give him, and he gets the job done. He did really good against us. I can't knock him in any sort of way. I feel like we didn't scheme in the right direction for this type of team. And some people may step in and say, oh, well, the injuries have really hit us hard, and they have. But at the same time, we have players on the team that can get the job done. The question is, are we coaching them in the right direction? And is the scheme guiding them in the right direction to begin with? I mean, if the scheme is wrong from the get-go, and the coaching mechanisms that are used to influence and inspire these players and to direct them into what they're supposed to do are all bad to begin with, then, what is the outcome going to be here? And I don't want to pin it all on Josh Norman, because I don't believe that all of this was Josh Norman's fault. But what I do believe is that this team has problems at its core, and I do not believe it's talent involved. Now, I skipped over a few of the plays in between. There were a lot of, 7 to 9 yard passes, and basically there were a lot of good plays, and then there were some where Washington overextended themselves in coverage. I want to take a second to point out that the Redskins had their opportunities to step forth in this game early on, and they just couldn't get it done. For whatever reason may be, the play-action game was strong today from Dallas, and Washington couldn't, meet the call. But that's all I got for now. I'm going to try to wrap up the offensive side of things and get that out as soon as I can. But hail to the Redskins, y'all. Peace.